what we do is we know that when an organization fails to achieve its strategic milestones and initiatives, it is typically because they have succumbed to the risk that are in the inherent in strategy implementation. And they usually succumb because they don't have a framework to identify those risks early enough so that they could make agile movements or contingency plannings, strategic off ramps is what we call it, so they could get off the highway, get back on, and continue on strategic vision. When we had that first conversation, we knew right off the bat that, look, the problem here is failure to identify risk, failure to use a targeted framework to address the risk in strategy implementation. Big picture, right? So we start from that premise and we begin to look at what are some of the volatility risks that impact his organization. I don't like to fail. I hate to fail, but I'm not afraid of it. Now, one of the risks that you could find yourself paralyzed by is the risk of failing. That's a given. Any strategy you develop in business, in leadership, has a risk of failing. Why? Because the marketplace is volatile. Things will change in a minute. It's uncertain. You don't know what's coming tomorrow. It's complex. There's so many moving pieces and it's ambiguous. Sometimes there's no clear-cut path forward. Any strategy, and I don't care who tells you, all the strategic planning gurus and experts out there that give you a foolproof plan. There's no such thing in business as a foolproof plan guaranteed to achieve a certain result. What you have to do is to create a strategic plan that is agile enough to identify risk early enough so that you could make contingency pathways, or what we call strategic off-ramps, to get to where you want to go. Right? So being afraid of the risk of failure is a risk that some people succumb to and become paralyzed and say, well, I can't really, we don't really want to do that because we might fail. I mean, you may not want to live because you might die, right? But anyway. I'm sharing these perspectives on risks from different business leaders and successful people because it's important to understand that as a business owner and a business leader, your role is really to strategically navigate the risks in the marketplace so that you could achieve strategic vision. How do you strategically navigate with your relationships, with your resources? And when I say I mean you and your organization. How do you strategically position people in key roles? How do you ensure that strategically rules and processes are put in place strategically so that you can maximize your ROVs, which is the essence of strategic vision, right?
This was an insightful and practical session on strategic leadership. Dr. Murray showed how one of the core mandates for leaders and business owners is to engage their teams and stakeholders to accelerate strategy implementation. You just watched a couple of clips from Dr. Murray's presentation at the DIMES Strategic Leadership Conference. Continue to follow us on our social platforms to find out when the next DIMES Strategic Leadership Conference will be open for registration.
So today, I learned about VUCA risk, the concept of risk that focuses on volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Dr. Murray explained how these 4 factors increase the risk that leaders face in their pursuit of strategic vision for their organizations. Today, Dr. Murray did a masterful and easy-to-understand breakdown of how his DIMES strategic leadership framework mitigates, minimizes, and manages these VUCA risk factors. With what I learned at the DIMES Strategic Leadership Conference about overcoming the risks of strategy implementation, I am absolutely going to be implementing these DIMES strategic leadership principles with my team and my organization. This way we don't find ourselves, as Dr. Murray said, up a strategic creek without a strategic paddle. Stay tuned to Dr. Murray's social media channels and also our YouTube channel Accelerate Strategy and Leadership Incorporated for upcoming dates of our next DIMES Strategic Leadership Conference.